This is Drinks Presents Wine Online 101, a 10-part series for wineries to tackle an entirely new approach to expanding their business online. I'm Brandon Amoroso, founder and president of Electriq, a retention as a service e-commerce agency. And today we're going to be going over the importance of SMS in creating a strong customer experience, specifically how you can leverage conversational commerce. I'm joined by Jay Quiles, head of agency partnerships for the messaging marketing platform, Attentive. Jay, thanks for joining us. Really excited to chat through this with you.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Excited to talk.
So before we hop into some of the topics I want to cover, can you just give everybody a quick background on yourself and Attentive?
Yeah, sure. So for myself, my name is Jay Quiles. I'm a Chicagoland area resident. I have been in the MarTech space now for about 11 years, at Attentive for the last 5 months, where we specialize in SMS marketing for D2C and online retail brands, helping them drive all sorts of revenue, but also just like brand loyalty through our automated platform.
Awesome. Thanks for that overview. So let's talk about why wineries need to focus on the customer experience when leveraging online sales, and specifically like how SMS can play a component in that.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I feel this reminds me of that dinner that we had in Miami where you and I had a brief chat about this, where and you would know more about this than me, but I feel like the typical purchaser of wine is a very casual wine drinker, much like myself, right? And so you and I talked about the fact that I know relatively the types of wines or names of wines or something that I heard of or read of on Bon Appetit at one point or another. I know those, but I think ultimately, many wine drinkers want to get to that point where they really know what they like and they know what they're asking for. And I think oftentimes you as a wine or a vineyard or a winery can help kind of build that brand loyalty and that trust as the subject matter expert. And SMS being that channel that really does kind of bring down the barriers to entry in a lot of cases. I think the way in which we've typically communicated with brands in the past has felt very business-like and very professional and very kind of transactional in nature. And the beauty, especially with conversational commerce, is that it does kind of take down the veil of we're doing business together, and it does allow for true human interactions and in some cases, like truly adding in maybe salesmanship is not the word that I'm looking for, but at least like some level of like understanding and you know, giving your brand the ability to like really connect with people on a level that they typically haven't connected with brands in the past.
Yeah, I mean, so much of it is educational and like a discovery process for consumers too. So that's why I think like your tone product and the ability to sort of proactively reach out to prospective customers as they're browsing the website could be really invaluable here, because especially if you're a winery that has a lot of different SKUs, a lot of different varietals. I mean, I drink a fair amount of wine and I'm still confused as hell about some of the things that I see. And I would love for somebody to reach out and be like, hey, like, what are you looking for? How can I help? What's your flavor profile? And actually have it be a real person too. I mean, you can emulate it a little bit with some of the like conversational commerce flows we built in the past, but those only go so far. Having a real human on the other end is a great way to extend that and help them figure out what they should be purchasing.
Yeah, and it's a balance. I think like the more that you know about kind of like the profile of wines you have in your inventory, that you can then kind of like cater some portion of automated questions to that then lead into a more elaborate, educated conversation between you and the consumer. Like you can do a good job of like not over inundating yourself with live conversations while also still giving that, you know, very unique, almost like storefront approach, but in a digital setting. I think oftentimes is what's lacking.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think you can start small, roll it out in baby steps, like something I've been trying to focus on just in general with getting brands to adopt conversational commerce, but specifically in like the wine industry, which historically hasn't, like I can't even think of a brand off the top of my head that's actually doing SMS marketing, for example. Take slow incremental approaches to actually implementing it and then go from there versus trying to like throw the kitchen sink at it and then being completely overwhelmed and not being able to establish like a baseline or iterate off of anything. So I think it's important to sort of block and tackle in manageable chunks and then set goals for each of those and then go from there.
Absolutely.
So how do you think, like, what are some of the things that brands have been doing that is really taking SMS and leveraging it to its full potential, because there's so many brands that are doing it, but I would argue are not leveraging it to its full potential, because maybe they're treating it like email. They're more so just batch and blasting campaigns every day. What are some of the things that brands should be looking at doing if they're going to utilize it to its full potential?
Yeah, so I tend to agree with you. I think that people, in a lot of cases, especially when they're new to SMS, they tend to treat it like channels that they're familiar with, right? So they treat it like a chat bot, or they treat it like their email, campaigns that they send out monthly, or however often they do to promote something. And there's definitely some truth to that in terms of the application of using it for uh, automated kind of that pseudo conversational marketing like we were just talking about, or just for promotional purposes. I think when SMS is used to its best ability, it's like very bare bones traditional martech kind of logic, which is just like segmentation. It's just like getting really keyed in on who are your different buckets within your larger audience pool, and being able to decipher what are the key attributes or characteristics that I'm looking for to better track those people. But then I think on the other side of that, I think that's something that's often overlooked, is just like getting clear on kind of your brand voice and how you disseminate that out into the world. I had a conversation at that same event that you and I met at, with somebody who works in the apparel industry, which different industry, but the use case was interesting, where they were leveraging SMS as a means to just send out rap lyrics and like other things that are in pop culture. And again, it was very hyper specific to their audience and their demographic, but it was purely a brand loyalty play, so that people were talking about them in circles like, oh, did you get that Drake text last night from so and so brand? And it was just a way to get people talking about the brand and get away from, like I was saying before, like the transactional nature of the relationship. Ideally, this is a repeat customer, somebody who comes to you again and again and again. And to kind of cut down the formality of the relationship and leveraging SMS as a loyalty tool, I genuinely think it is highly underutilized.
Yeah, and I think I can just look at my inbox and see the threads where I've gotten 8 texts in the past 3 weeks, and they're all a promotion or driving to a product page. And it's just a missed opportunity to use that channel in a way that might not get you an immediate sale, like right there and then, but over time, it's going to help improve the customer experience, which will improve retention and ultimately increase lifetime value, which is all any of these brands are trying to do.
Well, and we as consumers expect the brands that we do business with to know us. Like that's just the age in which we are, where we've seen all the documentaries about how scary social media is. So we just know that people are watching us all the time. It's just a statement of fact at this point. It's just an accepted thing. But because of that, like we expect the brands that we do business with to leverage that information to give us things that we care about. Like nothing is a worse experience than getting a message that is irrelevant, or worse, inaccurate. I remember years ago, I got an email about joining a gym that I had just signed up for. And so it's like the disconnect of like wherever your data lives in your CDPs to then say like, hey, don't send me information about signing up when I literally just did that, because that just tells me that you're not listening. And so I think too, just like leveraging that information, like blindly sending out promotional emails or text messages, pardon me, without any thought behind who is this for, it just does you a massive disservice.
Yeah, and I think as a consumer, we're all, and I actually was talking about this on a podcast this morning with Blend Commerce. I don't know if you work with them, but they're like a pretty big UK agency for email and SMS. And we were talking about how just the bullshit meter and detector of consumers is at an all-time high because of the fact that they've seen all these documentaries and they've just been purchasing online for the past 10 years. And so you can't necessarily get away with the same like marketing gimmicks and tactics, because there's a lot more competition as well. Like consumers can now choose from 100 coffee brands versus 3. And so when there's that level of competition, you have to differentiate yourself based on experience, because at some point the product is the product and it can only be so good, specifically in that industry. But I think that's an area that's missed out on. And same thing happened to me for like the summer sale for one of my favorite brands. I was like, all right, I'm going to sign up with 5 different emails, because for one, I was gaming the system and wanted to get their promo code, even though I had already purchased. But that's another thing. I don't know how you actually fix that. Like that's something that's constantly befuddled me.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's never been addressed, but that's not a topic for today's discussion. But regardless, I made a pretty big order with one of the emails and then a smaller order with another. But yet all 5 of my email accounts just kept getting the same communications for the next like 3 weeks. I still got hit with the sale, even though I literally just purchased. And to make matters worse, they sent me the sale email on a couple of the items I had purchased the day before were now even further marked down. So I emailed them and I was like, hey, like, as opposed to making me have to go and return this now and reorder it, like just give me the additional discount, which I never even would have known if they would have just stopped communicating.
Right.
So even little things like that, like just has not purchased or has purchased in the last 7 days, maybe we don't send them a promotion for that exact same item that they had brought.
Yeah, or even just like if you take that a step further on the other side of the spectrum, where we think about like customer love, right? Like leveraging some sort of data around like lifetime spend, like the touchy feelies that a person gets when they get like a special VIP offer that others don't have. You can leverage the customer data that you have available to you to say like, oh, this person spent this much money, so we're going to send them this very hyper specific text message to say, hey Brandon, you're one of our top consumers, and because of that we want to give you a special offer just as a thank you for your patronage. Like that goes so far beyond just like baseline segmentation, and it is that like we all want to be VIPs. We all want to be the bottle service level of consumer, and if we don't have bottle service money, at least we can buy some extra bottles of wine, or be appreciated for the bottles of wine that we can afford.
That's I like that. I'm going to start using that.
You're welcome,
Bottles
buddy.
service treatment for our clients.
That's it.
That'll appeal to a certain type of client. I don't know if
Yeah. Yeah.
So I love buzzwords because everybody has a different spin on it. And then sometimes I even say some of these words and I don't actually know what they mean. It's just more of like the concept. So conversational commerce is one of those for me because there's like 1,000 different definitions. I feel like, what does conversational commerce mean to you and how can brands do it?
Yeah, I think we've like kind of pieced it together in different portions of this conversation. Ultimately, what it comes down to is like, how can you create a unique customer experience through conversation, right? That feels as if it was created uniquely for the person that is engaging with the brand, but for you as the brand yourself, like how can you create it in a way that is at scale? So how can you create these experiences throughout the buyer's journey, both for new buyers and for repeat buyers, that feels very catered, but makes it so that your team can work at scale through leveraging the technology that's at your fingertips. So like Attentive being one of those tools where you can, and I try to stay away from this phrase, but like there's nothing better that comes to mind, but like you can work smarter, not harder, in a lot of ways. And so yeah, like when I think about conversational commerce, it's creating that unique, like I said, kind of like in-store VIP experience without having to like actually put all your human eggs in that one basket to create that experience.
Yeah, there's really easy things you can do too. Like for wine insiders in their SMS flow for replenishment on Attentive, we just have a simple text. I want to say it's at like 45 or 60 days, depending on the order size of the previous order, asking them if they need to re-up on their last order and then linking them to their last order so they can easily replenish it. Or you can reply with 1, 2, 3, or 4 to get a reminder in 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks, or reply help for like additional help. But so many people have replied 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then automatically it just buckets them into that. Then they get the reminder 7 days later, and it's like, it's not very intrusive. You quite literally asked for it. So this is why you're receiving it now. And it's not even super personalized. It's just more so a gentle reminder for that particular customer, not even taking into account whether it was red, white, mixed, whatever it may be. And even that has performed really well.
Yeah, no, totally.
So one of the things that I'm really excited for as more and more wineries come over to Shopify is I feel like most of the e-commerce technology that is currently servicing the alcohol industry, it's very like point solution specific in that everything is very custom or done like one-to-one. You don't have this robust library of one-click integrations like you have with the Attentive app marketplace. So what are some of the things that brands should be thinking about as they go and build out like their tech stack and their integrations, because this is going to be like a whole new world where the power of your tech stack is actually, for me, half of the battle is just making sure that everything works together. Because even let's say you had a reviews platform that was a 10 out of 10, but it didn't integrate with the rest of your stuff. I'd rather
Yeah.
go 8 out of 10 that can plug into Attentive for all of my communications and segmentation versus the other. So
Yeah, I think one thing that I've talked to a lot of customers about in my time in MarTech when it comes to tech stacks is like choosing a tech stack not just for the now, but a tech stack that can scale with you over, you know, a designated period of time. At certain points throughout an organization's life, they outgrow certain technologies, certain technologies to stay really close to, you know, the org forever. But I think oftentimes when put in a situation where you have to make an immediate decision, we make immediate buying decisions, and oftentimes like we then have to like revisit that same decision, you know, 3, 6, 9 months later, which is not ideal. So like first and foremost, I would say as you're evaluating your tech stack, like think through like, can I build with this in the next year or longer, so that I don't have to make this decision again, because they can be painful and awful and just annoying at some points. This is coming from the person that sells said technologies. But I think the other component that I think of, and I've probably just like, I've probably this terminology is overdone now, but like I do always go back to the customer experience. And like to your point, Brandon, like when we think about integrations, it's less about like, does the data talk to each other? And it's more so, what can I do with that data? And like, what decisions can I make based on the data that's available to me? And assuming that all the technologies that I use do work together, and the data that I care to know about that I can then leverage to make decisions in the future is available at my fingertips, that's oftentimes how I've consulted people when coming up with a tech stack. So we think about like the entirety of the customer journey, like, you know, does my form unit platform, if I choose to use something that's just for that, does it integrate into my email and SMS platform? Do my email and SMS platforms talk together, or is that one platform? What's the benefit or you know, or downfall of having that all in one place, right? Can I leverage, you know, reviews or even subscription data into my communication platforms, being my email and SMS tools, so that way I make sure that I'm not miscommunicating, you know, when your subscription is up or when your subscription has expired, right? And so it all goes back to making sure that that data is available to you so that you can create unique experiences, and so that we don't get the, you know, I already signed up for this gym experience, or the, why did you send me this promo when I already use this other promo, and this one that you just sent me is way better experience, right? We want to eliminate those as much as possible. And so, yeah, when like the tech stack decision is integral to making that a reality.
well, especially with SMS, because it's like pay per send, you should be very, very specific with who you're sending messages to and when. I mean,
Yep.
I don't think enough people track their earnings per message, because I've gone in and audited a couple accounts and it's not good. I mean,
No. Yeah.
their revenue might be increasing month over month, but that's just because they have so many net new like subscribers coming through the welcome journey. But they're batching and blasting campaigns and they're getting 5 cents earnings per message. That can't even possibly be profitable in any way.
No.
So like with your
No,
gym,
and there's so much to be done. Yeah.
with your gym example, I mean, they could have saved money by not messaging somebody who quite literally was already in the program.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, you know, oftentimes too, it's like, especially in the e-commerce space, it's like, you know, go to the ones that got you to the dance, like, you know, just continue to go. Like you've already paid the, you know, whatever ad spend you've paid to acquire said, you know, new contacts and new subscribers. And so like, if there's opportunities for you to, um, I was trying to not use the word exploit. So if there's a way for you to like, you know, continue to work with those clients who you've already paid to acquire, and to continue to like build that brand loyalty and like build, you know, their wantingness and desire to do business with you, it just over time, you know, you stand to benefit so much more. And to your point, like you can just get so much more intelligent and arguably like on a per message basis, just make so much more money than just like constantly throwing new people in there and then just getting that like first itch, but never getting, you know, repeat purchases. Like over time, that's not a plan for success.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to touch on was how, and this is super unique for wineries. Most of them have like an in-person tasting room. And historically, like a lot of Shopify merchants, I feel like they're online only. And so they don't necessarily have the in-store experience or in tasting room experience that they can leverage
Sure.
to drive like customer acquisition. But in the next episode, actually, that's going to come out after this one, we were talking with someone who's been in the wine industry for like 25 plus years. And her number one sort of piece of advice was hone in on that tasting room experience, because that's where you're going to get most of your customers. Like that's the experience. That's where you can sell them. And I think there's so many cool applications for SMS in that capacity, whether it's like QR code signups, being able to have the POS order then integrate into Shopify, and then have your like text communications 90 days later, making sure that you're still nurturing and keeping that customer around. Because so often it's, oh, we go to the tasting room, we purchase, and then we sort of fall off after the fact because it's not connected to their digital environment.
I do love that, because if I think of myself as a consumer, I'm like, damn, I just left that wine tasting. What was that skin contact wine? Damn, I really like that. Well, I'm just gonna go buy the one that I like and know that I like. It's not the same one, but like at least I get to scratch that itch where, like, you know, especially for some of these wineries who maybe don't have the brand recognition, or even like the store coverage that they may want to have. Like if somebody who is local is like spending their dollars with you in some capacity, and you give them a good experience in person, like to be able to follow up on that, yeah, it's just like it gives you, like I said, it gives you like the warm tinglies where you're like, oh, they remembered me, and they remember that I drank that content, like the skin contact wine, and that I liked it. It was great.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just can't get that. It's difficult to get that in the current setting, but I completely agree. Like I think that's something that could be leveraged in like a really, really unique and really cool way.
Yeah. And if they're like having an event, you have the zip code of that consumer, do like a, I don't know, 50-mile radius around your winery and blast it out. Hey, we're having this
Yep.
really special event. You're on our, I don't know, VIP list, whatever marketing lingo you
Sure.
want to phrase around it. Get them back in person, turn them into brand advocates. You get a ton of user generated content as well. You can even take video, take photos. Like there's so many secondary and tertiary benefits to having that in-person interaction in an environment that we've been trying to, for the brands that don't have like a retail store, don't have a tasting room. Like where can you be doing pop-ups? Where can you start getting that person-to-person interaction? Because it's just, I mean, just like we see with work, remote is great, but it's also not 100% what everybody wants. And
Sure.
it's not a replacement. Like we're human beings. And so we need that social interaction.
Amen.
So with that, I think we've covered all the things that I wanted to touch on today. Are there any sort of like last tips or suggestions that you give to any wineries listening who are looking to foray into the world of SMS and conversational commerce?
No, I think we covered it. I think the last thing I will say is I think there's often a hesitancy to get into SMS because it's like I don't like receiving text messages, so I don't want to send them to my customers, um, which is only valid if you assume that every single customer is you, which is just not the case, right? And so I think like I would caution anybody out there who has that overall sentiment about SMS as a channel to at least reconsider or like keep your mind open to the potential of the application of SMS as a channel. We've seen a lot of brands have a lot of success with Attentive, driving nearly 25% of their online revenue just through text messaging. And it is as it currently stands, a channel that is far less busy. I mean, the amount of emails that are in my inbox that will either never get read or be bulk marked open, it's too many to count. Where at this rate, it is a channel that is still quite quiet, and can lend to just a little bit slighter of a personal touch than you may be seeing with like other channels that you're more accustomed to. So what I would just say is just like, keep your mind open, be open-minded and see what happens. Give it a shot. We have a 30-day trial. Boom.
And I think it will, that's a nice plug there. I think it will remain quiet because people can unsubscribe so quickly and they're not going to let their SMS inbox get out of control. Like people have let their email inbox get out of control. I went through like a really long flight and the internet was terrible. So basically the only thing I could do was like take the time to go through my email that I set up back in high school and mark like 450 profiles as spam and then and then go through the unsubscribe process. My SMS inbox is never going to get like that. Otherwise, I'm just going to throw out my phone and go get a new one, because
It's funny. It's funny you say that. That's a friend of mine. Every time their inbox would get too overwhelming, they would just create a new email account, which is just not something you would ever do with your phone. Like, I'm not going to throw my phone out because I'm going to make sure that it is reasonable. Otherwise, like, it's going to get chaotic. But yeah, you can just create another Gmail account and you're just like, that was me from 2 years ago. This is me now.
I've thought about getting a new phone because ever since moving, and then also I had my phone number on the bottom of the Electriq website for like the first year, which was stupid. Never do that.
No, bad call.
I don't pick up calls anymore, so I miss important stuff all the time. People are like, "Why don't you pick up your phone?" I'm like, because it's probably spam. So
I created a problem for myself. Well, I wish you the best of luck.
It's my own fault. I'm going to create a new phone number, give it out to like 4 people, and that's it. Yeah. And my favorite brand,
like, it's
Attentive, obviously. So
much appreciated. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Thanks for thinking of us.
All SMS marketing. I'll make sure to reply to everything too, so you get that additional revenue coming through with that inbound text.
Now we're talking.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I think there's a lot of like really actionable items and takeaways here for wineries, or really just anybody listening in general who wants to get into SMS and conversational commerce. Just to recap it, we dove into SMS, how you can leverage it to create a strong customer experience, how to improve retention, some interesting applications that wineries could look at to drive SMS subscription list growth by utilizing like QR codes in the tasting room, and then also touching on integrations and how important that is when you're going to build out your tech stack. So we can show you how to set this up and introduce you to partners like Jay and the Attentive team. Just email us at wineries@drinks.com and we'll set up a meeting and get you on your way. But until then, stay tuned for our next session, and thanks for listening.